and a conservative government that's hiked up that counterinsurgency mission in Afghanistan. And now we've lost 97 Canadian forces members
and
there. We've lost a diplomat.
How many Afghanistan people have been killed by our forces?
The numbers of civilian deaths have doubled in 2007,
like
and they're increasing again in 2008. Just last month, we saw 90 civilians, 60 of them children, who were killed by aerial attacks in Afghanistan.
And we're part of that.
This mission is wrong. This mission that the Harper government and the Liberal government have put Canadians into is wrong. It's simply wrong, and it's not doing what they say they want to do in Afghanistan. We've had increase in IEDs, we've had increase in civilian bombings, there's increases in poppy production and drug running. It's not bringing peace and security to Afghanistan.
So what do you propose we should do?
In fact, it's fueling the insurgency.
All right.
Well, what New Democrats are saying is that we must withdraw from this counterinsurgency mission.
That means withdraw from the south and go into the north, or withdraw completely from Afghanistan?
It means withdraw from Afghanistan.
Completely?
And look at other ways that we can promote security and peace in Afghanistan. And what the people in Afghanistan really need is electricity, clean water, and security that is not the kind of forward-leaning, aggressive mission that is doing a search and destroy and kill mission. So that's
our soldiers with machine guns are not going to bring electricity and clean water.
No,
so
exactly.
you're proposing that we bring all the troops back and then reinvent some other social justice missions to go back.
Exactly. That yes, there is a security component to what's going on in Afghanistan.
Security for the Afghans or security for ourselves?
Security for the Afghan people.
But who is dropping the bombs? Are the Afghans dropping the bombs, or is it our F-18s that are dropping the bombs on them?
Well, it's not Canadian forces who are dropping bombs. We don't have.
What are F-18s doing there?
Pardon me?
What are our F-18s doing over there if they're not dropping bombs?
There is no aerial involvement by Canadians in Afghanistan at this point. What is happening is there's two missions going on in Afghanistan. There's a NATO mission of which Canada is part of. There's also an American mission, which actually the Liberals took us into. Operation Enduring Freedom was the mission that we went in under in 2005, and then Canadian forces moved into the NATO mission. So it's the NATO forces or Operation Enduring Freedom who are called in to do aerial strikes.
So you're proposing that we withdraw from NATO forces and join the United Nations?
Yes, we have said all along, if there's any room for a security in Afghanistan, it must be under a UN mandate.
Is that your view, or is that the party's position?
That's the party's position and my view.
All right. We will not continue with this because we have only a few minutes left, and we have another three people to...
It's a huge issue, though. I believe it's a huge issue.
Thank you very much, Dawn, and we continue with Ron McKinnon. You want to continue with the same topic, or you want to bring another one from nowpolling.ca?
I like all these topics. I think immediately I'd like to address some of these points about Afghanistan. I agree that a counterinsurgency mission there is a problem. That is not what the Liberal government, the Martin government, committed us to. The Martin government committed us to a three-pronged approach, two prongs of which were rehabilitation and reconstruction. And the military component was intended to be to support those, to protect those elements of the mission.
But now 90% of the budget goes to the military aggression, and about 10% is for the building bridges and schools.
I think that the mission has gone off track. I think that we cannot win in Afghanistan with a large military mission.
What should we win over there? When you say we cannot win, what specifically is winning what?
We cannot meet our objectives. Our objectives are to stabilize the country and to bring peace to the region.
By force?
No, we cannot win by force in Afghanistan. The history has told us that. The British were there for a long time.
Yeah, I know. But what should we do now?
We need to refocus the mission around reconstruction and rehabilitation. We need to refocus our military presence to support those roles. We must, specifically, our military should not be delivering reconstruction or rehabilitation services. They have to maintain a clear distinction in the eyes of the Afghan people, that the people who are building the bridges, building the roads, building the electricity delivery systems are not the military, that they are not military targets. We can't just go in and build roads, bridges, pipelines, dams, and have them blown up behind us. We have to have enough military to maintain stability so that these things can be built and deployed for the Afghan people. We also an intense military mission puts us in the minds of many of the Afghan people as invaders, and the Afghan people have showed us over many generations that they will not submit to invaders.
And do you think we are invaders?
Yes, we are. In a sense, we're not from there. We came in there. NATO went in there and displaced the existing government, however good or bad that government was, and the Afghan people have formed a new government and invited us back. Whether we should be there or not is kind of moot at this point. We are there. We helped break it. We should be helping to fix it.
All right. And we should fix it how?
We should be helping to fix it by bringing our democratic principles forward, by teaching, by helping them reconstruct their infrastructure, and by teaching them, training their military and their police forces, and supporting the Afghan people to rebuild their own country themselves.
All right, Mr. McKinnon, Afghanistan had a democratic system before the Western nations interfered there. They had an elected president for many years, and they were very stable and very progressive. And I don't know if our help is doing any good. But anyway, we don't have much time left, and let's continue with Green Party's opinion here, or on the same topic or on a different issue, whatever you want to talk to or discuss for the next couple of minutes.
Well, I think that since my opponent, Don Black, brought up the issue of Afghanistan, I would like to address that. And I think that as a defense critic for one of the major federal parties, simply saying that we will be pulling out and then finding other ways of dealing with the progress of the problem is not a policy. The Green Party is saying, look, this is not working. NATO is not working. Canada needs to withdraw from NATO, the NATO mission in Afghanistan.
Just the mission, not the...
Excuse me, in the NATO mission in Afghanistan immediately. We have not met the requirements of the John Manley report, which I'm sure you recall came out a number of months ago and was agreed to by all federal parties.
Not true.
That's not true. That the Manley report was... In essence, I believe they, in their way, which we are learning more and more about their way of doing things, agreed with the general requirements of the Manley report. So those haven't been met. What we need to do is go back, re-engage with the United Nations. The United Nations is the only international body that has authority, multilateral authority. We need to go back to our traditional established role as peacekeepers who lead within the United Nations. And we need to maintain a scaled back ground force in Afghanistan to deal with peacekeeping and security. We need to get Muslim UN troops into the country, because if we ever hope to win over the hearts and minds of the common Afghan people who are not literate for the most part, who are not educated, we need to be working with them on the social issues. If you're a farmer in Afghanistan, in southern Afghanistan, chances are you're growing poppies. Now, our current take on this is to eradicate poppy cultivation in Afghanistan. The Green Party would like to take on the recommendations of the International Scentless Council of creating a legal export market for Afghan poppies. There is a huge demand in the developing world for low-cost opiate painkillers. including in Afghanistan. This would allow steady revenue for the government. It would create legal livelihoods for farmers, and it would take the chief source of funding away from the warlords.
Okay, should we as Canada be deciding what's good for Afghanistan?
No, and this is exactly the point I'm trying to make, is that history has shown foreign forces who try to come into Afghanistan and change the way they govern themselves fail. If we do not want to join that long list of foreign occupations that have failed, we need to immediately rethink why we are there and how we can best affect change in that country. The answer is diplomacy. The answer is getting our Department of Foreign Affairs fully engaged in the country, increasing CETA's involvement in the country.
Good. But you're saying that we want to do diplomacy, but you're also advocating that we leave some troops there to keep peace and order.
I am, yes. I think.
So is that diplomatic to keep our machine guns and our soldiers there, as the Liberal said, invading another country? Is that diplomatic?
Well, you know, Afghanistan has a seat at the United Nations, along with all the countries of the region. And we would be working under the authority of the United Nations. And thus, you know, this is not something new. This is something that Canada has done and done very well for a long time now.
Okay.
Well, I agree that Afghanistan is a huge looming issue for a lot of Canadians. This is the first time in my lifetime that Canada has been an invading nation. I grew up always believing that Canada was more of a peacekeeping nation type society, where me and everybody I knew as Canadians were proud that we were peacekeepers in the world, that, you know, if we went traveling, we were acknowledged as a peaceful nation. And now that we've, you know, joined in basically the conquest of Afghanistan, to implement a government there, that's how it looks from where I see it.
So should we be there?
We shouldn't be there. We should immediately withdraw.
Immediately?
Yes.
How about
our mission, our so-called mission in Afghanistan has failed. 2 years ago, I had the honor of talking to one of the people that works for our military, who's worked for the military his entire life as a communications expert. He got stationed with the Canadian Army in NATO, and he told me that the only statistic that changed after we set up the government in conjunction with the Americans and the CIA and whoever else organized the election to elect the now government there, the only statistic that changed was the production of heroin. The Taliban had reduced the heroin crop by 95%, and now it's again the world's largest exporter of heroin.
Okay.
This isn't helping anybody.
Yes, we're running out of time, so we're going to give you the last minute to just tell us your closing thoughts.
So, as a Green Party candidate, I endorse the withdrawal from the NATO action in Afghanistan and to reinitiate Canada as a peacekeeping nation under the United Nations, so that we would once again go in with the blue helmets and just keep peace rather than trying to impose a different way of life on another nation.
Good, and that's why people should vote for you.
Yeah, among other reasons. There's a few really huge issues that are coming up for everyone. One is global warming. People are starting to realize that global warming is going to affect them. The polar ice cap is half the size it was 8 years ago, and now we're getting these superstorms coming up, and it's changing everything for us. According to 2,000 scientists working for the UN globally, that the consensus among them is that we only have 7 years to turn around the direction of the global warming, or
unless we change direction.
If we don't change direction in the next 7 years, the results will be catastrophic.
Okay, thank you, Doug Perry.
I will fight for that when I'm elected.
Okay, thank you very much. And we continue with the next Green, Mr. Marshall Smith.
Thank you very much. I would just quickly like to clarify our position on North American free trade. The truth is that, you know, NAFTA was an agreement thrust onto the Canadian people by the Mulroney government, which with no consultation whatsoever, and that no one really knows how to get out of this thing. Whether it is better to say, okay, let's renegotiate, or let's cancel the entire thing and start from scratch. So these are, these are really important issues that we need to begin talking about and cooperating on. Okay, moving on from that, I have to agree with my colleague here that climate change is by far the chief priority. Tackling climate change is the priority of the Green Party. Because it has such far-reaching consequences on over our economy, over our social welfare, over how we live our lives, the quality of our lives. And the sooner that we begin adjusting our way of life to the changes, the massive changes that we're going to be faced with, the better off our country, our civilization will be.
And that is why people should vote for you.
And this is why people should vote for me and for Greens everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. McKinnon, your last minute.
Thank you. I think big issues like free trade and Afghanistan are very important, but I'd like to speak about things a little more close to home. I think that this election is a great opportunity for us, for me as a Liberal and for us as a Liberal Party and for Canada to vote for a change back towards some responsible social principles, social housing, homelessness, addressing the whole continuum of housing and homelessness, and housing affordability, as well as helping us on a day-to-day basis to make ends meet. And in that particular respect, the Green Shift is a key element. Not only will it help us to address our environmental responsibilities, but it will also help to address our economic responsibilities by making it more affordable for people to deal with the high cost of fossil fuels and to adapt into a sustainable economy for the future.
Okay, and that's why people should vote for you.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Don Black, your final thoughts.
Thank you, Pedro. There's so much more that we could be talking about today, about leadership that sees Canadians as much more than just numbers on a balance sheet, about making commitments and sticking to them on issues like climate change, the homelessness crisis in this country, about green jobs, about education for your kids, and about affordable childcare for Canadian families. Most of all, this election is about leadership and the kind of direction we want to see Canada take in the future. So on October 14th, I'm asking the people of New Westminster, Coquitlam, and Port Moody to vote for me once again so I can continue to be their strong voice in Ottawa and to stand up for the issues that most affect them and their families. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was quick. And we continue with Bill Siksay. Last thought.
Thanks, Pedro. It's been an honor to represent Burnaby Douglas in Ottawa for these past few years. If re-elected, I'll continue to work hard. I'll be present to do the job, whether that's in Ottawa or here in Burnaby, and I'll continue to offer the same service that I've offered to constituents who are having problems with government. Burnaby has a long tradition of sending a progressive voice to Ottawa, a voice that's made a difference in the debates of the House of Commons, and I'll continue that tradition. I'm going to work hard on the issues, I'll take a stand, and I'll be accountable to the voters of Burnaby Douglas at election time and in regular meetings in the constituency. We need someone to be continually outspoken on important principles dealing with our economy, with trade, with the environment, with health care, with homelessness and affordable housing, with the war in Afghanistan and in Iraq, and on immigration issues and human rights issues. I plan on continuing to speak out on all of those when I'm re-elected.
All right, thank you, Bill Siksay. And finally, we have Mr. Cunningham to tell us exactly why does he think that he should replace Bill Siksay.
Well, to me, it's a very clear motivation why I'm asking for people in Burnaby Douglas to vote for me instead of for my elder Bill. And that's, to me, the interpretation of the role of an effective member of Parliament is one who can get things done in the community. Sure, it's great to use as a measure of performance how many votes you sit for in the House of Commons or how many times you get to make speeches in the House of Commons. But for me, the true test of an effective member of Parliament is what he or she can get done in the community, what they can stand up for in front of their fellow citizens, their neighbours, and say, look, this is how I've helped to make this community better. And that's the kind of member of Parliament I want to be. I love this community. I've been here for the last 16 years, and I want to make sure I can couple my love and desire for Burnaby and how proud I am of my home and my knowledge of how to get things done in Ottawa, bring those two together to really help make our community a stronger and better place to live.
Well, thank you very much all.